We've got some.
Hey, I'm Luis.
And I'm Luis.
And you're listening to the Content is Profit podcast.
We spent the last 4 years learning the strategies and techniques from some of the top marketers in the world on how to create content that turns into profit. And today, we're bringing them to you so you can take action immediately and start creating real content momentum.
If you'd like to learn more about how to turn your content into profit, go to contentisprofit.com. Oh, yeah. And we're back. Another week, another incredible guest. And today's guest is one of the masterminds behind Magic for Life. Quick shout out to episode 110 with Michael Johnson.
Or should we say MJ, the real MJ.
That being said, we see it all the time in magic shows. A magician can't do it alone. They usually have a super cool partner right next to them.
That's right. And today's guest is not only that incredible partner, but she used to be a professional ballroom dancer as well.
Tell me more.
How epic is that?
So
She's
epic.
that person that helps other people create their marketing choreography.
Hashtag so juicy, so good.
I think it should be so juicy, so tasty. I love that analogy there. We'll definitely have to explore this topic a bit more.
As we mentioned, today's guest is not only a seasoned marketer, but she takes care of the Magic for Life operations as well. We'll definitely need to get some pointers about that. She is also about to launch her podcast, the Funnel After Party podcast. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, you needed the horns for the after party.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go. Okay.
I hope we're invited to that after party. I really do. Please welcome ex-professional ballroom dancer, host of the Funnel After Party podcast, and the secret behind the magic, Lexi Ruffell.
You got it.
You got it. What's up, guys?
What's up, Lexi?
So good to be here. Thanks for the intro. That was good. I was just sitting here laughing. It was so good.
Thank you. I know they probably be like, that was something else.
Yeah. We definitely deviated quite a few times, But Lexi, you are officially in the Hall of Fame. You know why? Because this is the very first episode that we're gonna be using hashtag so juicy, so tasty.
No, dude.
Hashtag.
So juicy, so good. Okay, we'll let the audience vote.
No, we'll let that Lexi, you vote.
You're gonna put her on the
Which
spot
one
like
is
this?
your favorite? Hashtag so juicy, so good, or hashtag so juicy, so tasty?
Pick a bro.
Man, number 2.
Yeah. No,
That's
tasty.
that's so good. Okay, whatever. Lexi,
Yes,
okay.
Lexi,
Stop.
let's go.
Fancy, stop. This is all about you, Lexi. I don't know what you're complying to answer the questions of Fancy here, but we're very honored to have you here. I mean, we heard so many good things about you. I want to learn a little bit more about how you started this journey, from professional ballroom dancer to what you do now, to do funnels and podcasts and amazing communities, and tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, you got it. Well, let's back it up way far. I was definitely born to be an entrepreneur. My parents are both entrepreneurs. My dad has sold everything out there. He has started so many businesses. Currently, the obsession is reselling shoes and cars. So that's the current obsession. Yeah, that's my dad. He just sells everything. And my mom owned a dance studio, and so did my grandma. So it was just in the family, meant to be an entrepreneur for sure. I was born into it. So starting there, and then got into dance, obviously, because that was just in the family. Got into ballroom dancing and went professional in ballroom dancing. And along the way, as a ballroom dancer, you definitely learn how to be, or you're definitely an entrepreneur because you got to get students in. Yeah. That's definitely part of it. And so I built my business up, built my clientele up, and along the way was learning marketing skills. Found out that I really loved the operation side of things, really loved the planning. Yeah. And that was, so I actually got into a position to run the dance studio that I was at. I definitely find myself, I find myself getting to that like high position all the time, because it's just, I don't like to be underneath. It's like, oh no, I got to be in charge. It's really, really a thing. I got to be in charge. I think a lot of entrepreneurs can connect with that. Like, nope, not working for anyone else. I just got to be in charge. So definitely got myself getting to that place, and then started running operations for Magic for Life. And just, man, it's just been quite the journey. Professional ballroom dancer, operations, starting my own business, and it's all kind of happened at the same time. So that's kind of fun. There's not really like this happened and this happened. It just kind of all happened at once. And then decided not to dance anymore, and now I'm focusing all on this. So that's the story.
That's incredible.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. I mean, we definitely feel identified with this. I mean, you run a dance studio. That's so cool. I have a crazy dance story in Barcelona with my soccer team that they decided to send us to dance, to cross train. And then we end up doing jazz classes, 3 very stiff soccer players, a Venezuelan, a Japanese, and a Korean dude with a Spanish coach in the middle of this dance floor. Tripping over. So I huge admiration for you guys dancers, because that's definitely not easy. So huge appreciation there. Along your I want to dive in a little bit into your dancing side of things, because even with MJ, we talked about being an athlete and the mindset that you develop, right? Do you think that helped you to tackle like these problems that you're tackling on your day-to-day now? And if so, how so?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, being a dancer, you have to learn so many skills, and you have to learn discipline, and you have to learn to work hard and go after your dreams. I mean, it's a passion thing, and so you're going after your dreams every single day, and sometimes you win and sometimes you don't, and you have to learn how to deal with both sides. And as an entrepreneur, it is the same exact thing. Sometimes you win. Sometimes you make that sale, sometimes it works, and sometimes it really does not work. And so, learning to deal with the ups and downs as a dancer and bringing that into entrepreneurship is definitely huge. It's so big. And I think for any athlete, like you learn how to take it and let the world tell you how it is, and then you have to decide how you're going to handle it. So.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, if I'm being honest, I don't know much about ballroom dancing and like how, like, if the competition, whether is it a team or is it just individually, just you? I would love a little bit of context on that, because I have this thought that, formed in my head, but I would really need to know that to make sure it's okay to share.
Yeah. It's both. I grew up on a team, and I did individuals. So there's 2 sides of it. You can compete with a team, and in college I traveled with the Brigham Young University touring company, and traveled all over the world and did the team thing. And then I also did my own thing with my partner. And as a pro, I didn't do team. That was more of an amateur thing. And then as a pro, it was just me. So does that help?
Yes, definitely a lot. Before I dive into that, I want to clarify something real quick, because my brother just posted in the comment, hashtag so juicy, so good.
Because it is.
No, Lexi voted for so juicy,
so good,
so tasty. Okay, I'm just going to throw that out there. Now, Lexi, the reason I wanted to know that is because, you mentioned that since you were little, you knew you wanted to do something on your own, right? And the thing is, when you are in a team, right, like especially athletes, this is how I feel and how I see it in soccer, right? That is a sport that we played.
Yeah.
You want to control your future, but you still have a team, right? You still have a team. And if you have leadership skills, you have to, in a way, manage that team and communicate with your teammates and all that stuff, right? But there's some sports like tennis, mostly you play individually, right? So for those people, I feel like maybe on the operation side, they're not as strong because they're just dealing with themselves, right? It's like, I'm just going to do my thing. I just want to get here and all that stuff, right? But I see now in a way, and maybe I'm wrong, but you coming from also doing the team dancing with a team, right? And dancing with yourself, kind of like how the operations like manages in between there, right? And maybe I'm looking like way too deep into it, but I'm curious to know, right? Do you think that played a role in developing that operational skill of yours on like managing others, some of your leadership skills, maybe?
Yeah, 100%. Because, well, I mean, I've always been a natural leader, and in being one that likes to be in charge, you also have to learn how to be a good leader at the same time. And so I think, along the way, I've had different experiences that have helped me learn how to be a better leader instead of it being all about myself, because there are times where I definitely, it is me. And I've had that along the journey. But I think, I think that the team experiences have helped me be able to be a better leader and understand people better, and understand how to deal with them better, and get them to a point where they can be at their best, rather than forcing them to do something that's not best for them. So I definitely think that plays a role.
Yeah. So I love all this conversation. I mean, I think we could just do like an
we should do like, we should do like a season that we just bring people that were athletes and we just talk about that topic. That would be pretty interesting.
So like I remember like along my soccer career, if you want to call it that, I remember some challenges along the way. And one of them personally was we qualified for NCAA Division 1 conference finals and in our own thing. And when the semifinal and the final games came in, we had to play like three games in 4 days. It was like something stupid like that, like physically like almost impossible, right? But at the same time, this is something that you want to play. Like those are the games that you really want to do, right? So for the finals, I was benched because we played a few games. The body was not there, right? Like that was a very hard challenge for me internally, mentally, to accept that. And but the team obviously comes first. And then we ended up losing the final, which, is a whole different story. Coach, it was because I wasn't there. No, I'm kidding. Okay. But I remember like we had to live through a lot of challenges that way. Do you remember like one specific challenge that kind of really like sat you down, be like, oh man, like this is a rough one. This is one that like I don't know if I'm gonna get out of there. Not saying that one was for me, but that meant a lot because that was like the first final that we were playing in the conference, and it meant a lot to me, and it kind of demotivated me to tackle anything after that. Right, I had to do some work mentally to do that. Do you identify some moments like that in your either athletic or now entrepreneurial journey?
I mean, one comes to mind. There's a lot that are definitely there, and I think we all have a lot that have influenced us. But one that comes to mind is I was going after a championship for about 3 years with my partner in high school, and we had some success, but the one that we were really going after, we didn't make it. We were shooting for making the final. In ballroom, it works in like there's quarterfinals, and then there's semifinals, and then there's finals. And so the finals, that's when 7 couples or 6 couples are on the floor together, and it drops from like 40 something to that, or even higher sometimes. And so our goal was to make that final, and we had been working towards that for 3 years, and we missed. And so I just remember, you look for your number. It's based on the guy's number. And so you look for your number, and you just wait for that number to come up, and looking up at the screen, and it didn't come up. And it was the thing that I had envisioned for years, like that my number was going to come up, and I was going to go out there, and I was going to dance, and then I didn't. And so I just remember like being in the hallway crying with my coach and with my partner, and it was devastating. And after that, it was hard. Like, man, like how do I get back up after that? Because that was the goal. Like that was it. I was a senior. He was leaving. We weren't going to dance anymore, and that was the opportunity. And it was like, that's it, right? And so then you go, okay,
Yeah.
how do you pick yourself up after that? And it was definitely hard, and but I wouldn't change it. Like, I'm so grateful for that experience because it taught me so much of how to move forward, and the result isn't everything. And sometimes you got to go through that journey and learn to get to the point where I feel like I can handle situations better because of it, because of that journey. So
Yeah,
Wow.
definitely. Thank you for sharing that story. What were some things that you did to overcome that, right? And the reason I asked is because we work on our day to day, obviously ourselves publishing, through the podcast, but before it was through Facebook Lives, and sometimes we attach the success, and I'm doing air quotes, of our content to the views or the engagement, right? And we publish this, and maybe we work for a whole week to plan a video, and then we do that video and then put it onto the world, and then nobody sees it, right? And then that might feel like a defeat, right? Even though we truly believe that that's not a defeat, that's part of your journey, right? And we talked about this every single time. It's like, okay, repetition, doing it, put your reps in, and in content or entrepreneurship in general is like, do it as fast as you can so you can collect samples and adapt, right? So how do you do that? How do you overcome this? On our side with content, what we did was we implemented as fast as we could. We did one Facebook Live every single day. We got better at telling stories. Now we do 3 podcasts a week, right? Like, that was the game for us. How do you move from that experience, and what is the lesson that you now bring into the business that you help operate?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think personal development. I think working on your mindset and knowing that you are good enough no matter what. That's the key in anything. Knowing that you are good enough. And I know that's not like okay, you can do this and you can do this, and no, it's just working on yourself and understanding you and believing in yourself, because that was something that I realized after that experience that I really needed to tackle, and really understanding myself and going, okay, I'm good enough. And I think that's in any situation. It doesn't matter what it is. Like, when those hard times come up, you've got to go back and go, okay, I still believe I'm still good enough. Now, okay, I got to move forward from that. And I think it's just, okay, get back up and keep going. And I think that's really the key in it. And, obviously I run operations for Magic for Life, which is all personal development. And so it's so important to any journey. It just, it doesn't matter what journey, whether you're an athlete or you're an entrepreneur, or you're a mom, or like, it really doesn't matter. It's all about believing in yourself and knowing that you're good enough.
Yeah,
I love it.
That is so important, right? And that is, I feel like people have a very difficult time accepting that, right? Like, yes, I am important. And, I feel like, in a way, and this is obviously nothing bad, but like, we are taught since we're little to be like, care for others, like we're taught so much about kind of like putting others before taking care of yourself, right? And something that's like that I've understood throughout the journey is like, you cannot help others if you don't help yourself either, right? And being kind to yourself, I think it is part of the journey. And I'm loving everything that you're sharing right now, right? Because I related again so much to our soccer career, right? And there's so many principles in here, right? Like, I'm sure the like incredible amount of hours that you put training to come to these competitions, then failing, right? Moving forward or succeeding, and how to deal with success. And now when I read your pretty much like your tagline, which I imagine it is with it, which is a marketing choreography, right? I'm sure a lot of these principles translate into that, right? And I'm curious, like I'm curious to know, how did that come to be, right? Like, what is actually a marketing choreography? Because when I read it, I was like, wow, that is something really cool, because it feels like you work so hard to put it together, right? But it's, in my opinion, is never complete. Like, it's like a never evolving thing that you're working on. Which I would assume is something similar to dancing, even though like we don't know anything about choreography or dancing. We might have to have a class together one day.
We might have to see you dancing some salsa and bachata over here and see what's up.
But I'm curious, like, what are some of those principles, right, that you translate from dancing to the marketing choreography?
Yeah, for sure. Well, you know, every piece of choreography requires steps, and it requires figures, and it requires perfecting it and learning the different things that you need, and it requires coaching, and it requires mentoring and having a team and doing the things that you need to do to get the validation on your stuff and testing new things out. And so as I look at dance, and we have our dances and we have our pieces of choreography, and we spend hours on making them work and understanding what's going to work, what do people like, what do people not like, what's your brand, what's happening there. And so as I looked at that, it was like, oh my goodness, like I've learned marketing along the way, and people need this marketing choreography, because they need to pull all of the pieces together, because there's people that are teaching this, and there's people that are teaching this thing, and there's people that are teaching this, like all different things. And we've really got to pull them together into this masterpiece, into this piece of choreography that's just amazing, right? You know, you've got to have what resources do you have? You got to pull your resources together, and then you've got to have your launches, and you've got to have your campaigns, and you've got to have your value ladder, and then you've got to have your plan to make it happen. And what funnel are you going to use, and what are all the details that you need? And so you know, those are the principles that I took from dance and put it into marketing. And you know, I've been learning marketing for quite some time, and had my ups and downs. And I went, you know, everybody they need the big picture of what to do, and they need to pull all their pieces together. And there's people that are experts at these things, and we can refer to them. But we still need to see the big picture to create this piece of choreography. So
yeah, that's awesome. And my mind is going to beginning of 2020, right? When we actually had a lot of stuff in our plate. We used to do a lot of things, and one day we came and we sat down and we're like, okay, which one of these elements are we going to focus on, right? And the reason I'm bringing this is because, and I'm just going to play a little like devil advocate here, but someone might be like, but there's a lot of stuff, right? Like I cannot do everything, or it can be a little overwhelming, right? So I'm curious.
Just a little.
Yeah, it can be. For us, it was a lot. Okay. Hey, I feel like some people, you know, they might be able to do it. But I'm curious, what would you tell to that person, right? Because I feel focus is key, right? Like right now, my belief through my experience is that if I don't focus on one thing, I'm not going to be able to move it forward, right? So how do you go about putting all these pieces together, all these steps together within the choreography, so they, you know, so they work flawlessly?
Yeah, no, I love that, because really it is about getting to a place where we can test one thing. Because first it's about, okay, let's see what the vision is, right? Let's have something that we're moving towards, and let's understand all of the pieces that we need. Now we take the plan and we simplify it, and we do the one thing that's going to get us the success, and then we move to the next thing. And it's really about mapping out, okay, what are we going to do in this year that's going to bring us the success that we want? And so the big picture is important, so we can break it up and see the details. Because I think a lot of times people are wandering around aimlessly, and they're going, well, okay, I have this funnel, and it's really a lead magnet funnel, and this is what they've built, and they think that's the end all. They think they're going to make money on this lead magnet funnel, which is not intended to do that at all. And they have no plan that's going to lead them to the point of, hey, let's actually sell your product, like your thing. Let's sell your high ticket stuff. And so that's where I think it's important to have the choreography, because you're going, okay, let me see the big picture. Now we break it up and we go, okay, we need to get some leads so we can do this. And we don't want to just leave the leads sitting there, because that's not cool either. Like you could gather all the leads and then it's like, cool, I have all these leads, and then you don't do anything with them. And so that's what I say.
That's awesome. I love it. You know, and kind of like to rephrase here a little bit what you said as well. I feel that is, you're looking again, like you said, at the bigger picture, right? And then you're reverse engineering to see what is the next viable step that we need to take. And my mind goes to, we used to be thinking so far ahead all the time that we would overwhelm ourselves.
Right.
Big time. We're like, this is all the things that we need to do. Oh, we're so frustrated. This is so much. We won't be able to do it.
And then you don't do anything.
Exactly. Yeah. Then we wouldn't do anything.
And you freeze, you're paralyzed.
And right? I remember the day that we were actually listening to Steve Larsen, and he was telling us about kind of like a mountain, right? Like imagine that you are about to climb a mountain, but there's immense fog everywhere. But you know how the top of the mountain look because you've seen pictures, you have an image of it, and you know you want to go there. But along the way, you cannot really see what's in there except for your next step. As you take one step, the fog clears a little bit and you can see the other next step. So I think that is it's a great picture for what you're saying, because we often have that vision, right? We entrepreneurs, we are all dreamers, right? So we have that image of where we want to go and we can see it clearly, but then we don't see the road and we just like end up fumbling down the mountain because we are just like trying to rush there instead of taking one step at a time. So I think that is perfect, right? And I'm curious, right? For someone that is maybe starting their marketing choreography, what is that first step that you think they should be taking to clear the fog, if you want to put it that way?
Good. I mean, I've got this cool map, so that's kind of fun. Yeah, this is my marketing choreography map, and basically I go, what do we have right now, right? What do we have right now that we can work with, and what's the vision that you have right now, and then let's take some action on that, right? Because I think it's like, okay, you could get caught up in that vision. You could totally get caught up and go, okay, vision. But then we got to bring it back and we got to go, here's the plan. Here's the game plan from that. So definitely first step is really just identifying what pieces are already there, because I think people also miss that side of it. They just jump in and they forget, oh my goodness, like I actually have this list of people, or, oh, I have this Facebook list. Oh, I've been running this podcast for 2 years, or like they have resources already that could be utilizing that maybe they're not utilizing yet. And so it's just really, really identifying what's there. And now let's move forward with that. What's not there? What pieces do we need to fill in? And then we go, okay, what's the best step moving forward based on those things? So.
Dude, so good. It's because like
hashtag so juicy, so tasty.
Where were you 3 years ago, Lexi? Just saying. Now, do you get pushback? I'm just excited because of this stuff. Okay, so here, do you get any pushback when you have these conversations, right? Like we have a similar conversation when it comes to content, right? People come to us and they're like, "Hey guys, I want to be everywhere," right? Like obviously the $30,000 team Gary V style kind of content, right? And then we're like, hey, okay, let's sit down. What do you have? How do you produce content? Well, I don't produce content. I'm like, okay, that's great. That's the starting point, right? Like awesome. But sometimes, right, expectations are very high, and then when we explain on the content vertical, like what are the resources that we have, right? Like we talked about this in our publishing pyramid all the time, right? Like messaging, consistency, capacity, and then the resources. People just like start up there. Now, sometimes they get very disappointed, right? I have an answer for this myself, but I'm very interested to hear what you said. What is the reaction that you get with people? Like, and then how do you manage those reactions?
Yeah. Well, I think it's important to still keep them excited. And you still allow them to see the big picture, and then you break it down. So you go, okay, phase 1, we're going to do this. And then phase 2, we're going to do this. And then phase 3, we're going to do this. And then phase 4, we're going to do this. And all of these things are going to allow us to actually do what you're wanting to do. Yeah. And so it's just keeping it in mind, because I've also been in situations where I have not allowed the dreamer to do what they want to do, and I make it crash and burn. And so I've totally been in that situation. If you talk about Michael, I run operations, right? And Michael's a big dreamer, right? He's a huge visionary, and so I've had to learn to balance that and go, sick. I love that idea. That's really awesome. Now let's take it back, and we're going to do all these things that are going to allow us to get to that big picture. And so I've definitely had to learn that along the way, because I'll go back to like, okay, we need all these details, and this is why it's going to work, and this is why it's not going to work, and I'll definitely make it crash. And so I was like, okay, I've learned how to not do that though, because
I love it.
I'm doing operations.
You speak my language. Fonzie and Michael can go dream, and then you and me will have a conversation on how to actually like execute all that.
I want to add two things. Michael, if you're over there listening, let's go, dreamers.
He's here.
We can barely see him because of the camo shirt, so we don't really know where he is.
With the tree.
But Lexi, I love what you're saying, right? And kind of like what you're talking right now about it is a principle in copywriting or selling, which is called future pacing as well, right? Because when you're talking to these people, you're future pacing them into saying, hey, yes, look at yourself in this vision, and they're getting excited. But for you to get there, we need to do these steps, right? So whether it is in your own business, I think it is important that you're selling, for example, like let's say I'm the listener right now to this episode, and I don't have a team, right? But I'm a dreamer. And I'm starting and doing the things myself. I can future pace myself and say, yes, okay, my vision is this. I'm going to be super excited, but then reverse engineer it and then start from step number one, right? I'm just going to add this other. That's why I keep my brother right next to me, because he is that person that does that for me.
That's the only reason. He's the only person that does everything in this business. Except the dreaming. That's okay.
Hashtag so juicy, so tasty. Okay. And I love it. So the other thing, that I wanted to mention is actually this communication tool, I guess, if you want to put it that way, or communication framework that I learned in a different podcast. But it was from Disney, right? Walt Disney had this theory that there were three different types of people. First, the dreamers. Second, the planners. And third, the critics. And he said for every project to actually, become a reality, you needed all three people. Because dreamers are just going to dream, and it might be a little difficult to just implement it, right? But then you need the planning. The planning people are going to help you do the step by step. And the critics, even though sometimes we don't like the critics and all that stuff, sometimes they're needed because they are facing reality, and they're going to tell you, yes, you can do this or you cannot do this. And the podcast mentioned that it was very important that communicate clearly in what stage you were. So when you're dreaming, tell everybody else that you're dreaming and have them be on board with you and dream. But immediately after that, be like, okay, now let's go into the planning section of the conversation and let's plan. See, how can we actually make this happen? And I feel that is the reverse engineering part, that we come back and we see the step by step. And then finally we go into the critic. Boo, critics. No, I'm kidding. But the critics are needed because they're going to be saying, okay, we cannot do this because of X, Y, Z. This is not possible because of X, Y. And now we're bringing it to this, I guess, realm of reality where you can actually get things done. And I see this in your marketing choreography. I think this is a beautiful thing, honestly.
So what happens, Lexi, when the choreography works? Because I'm sure, because I'm
future pace.
Let's future pace. Yeah. What happens? What is the beautiful thing that happens? Because I want people listening, right? Like there is a big plus of creating your marketing choreography, right? What happens?
Yeah, man. Obviously it's different for everyone and what's happening, because the plan is going to be different for everyone. And the goal is going to be different. But I think the most important thing that comes out of it is that you have a solid understanding of whether someone likes what you're doing or they don't like what you're doing. Because I think that a lot of times people will go, okay, I'm going to post this thing on Facebook and that's how I'm going to test this. And I'm like, are you crazy? Like, you have no idea whether that thing worked or whether it didn't work, or whether your product is good or whether it's bad, or whether the marketing was good or bad. You have no idea. And so I think that
or this one. This is one of my favorites. I'm gonna post twice a week and I'm gonna sell $10,000 every month.
Exactly. Like That's crazy. That's never going to happen. And so I think the best thing that's going to happen is you're going to understand where you're at and what to do next. And the best thing that could happen is you come out with tons of money and you reach exactly what you wanted. But at the very, very least, if all this did, right, if we take the perfect webinar script, right, if all this did, it's going to get somebody to the point where they really understand what's happening and what they should be doing next. So
that's such a valuable thing to know, right? Like, I cannot explain how many times we felt lost, like in our business, right? Like we were moving forward, and like Fonzie has shared in the last few episodes and events that we've been at, is like like Tom Billieux says, like I'd rather be running 1,000 miles in one direction, right?
In the
wrong direction than just like staying still. I definitely butchered that quote, but
yes, you did.
I got it.
You got the idea. Okay, perfect. But at the same time, it's like I love that you preach execution, right? Like this is the plan. Right, this is perfect. The top of the mountain. This is we're journeying together. Let's bring it down. What are the resources? What's the capacity that we have to execute today? Let's execute. Let's look at data. Right. Let's make decisions based on that, and then continue to move forward. Right.
Right.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm curious, right? Because before you mentioned about kind of like looking at yourself and looking at the resources, right? And I think the conversation landed again over there, and why I'm curious, because when you say this, I'm thinking of people need to be proactive, right? They need to, okay, let me take inventory, make inventory of what we have. Now, let me take action. But most people are not like that. Most people are either taking action without making an inventory. So they're just taking action without an actual clue of where they're going. Or they are very reactive, right? Like, oh, I learned about a funnel. Let me make the lead magnet, or oh, look at this other thing that is working for other person. Let me buy it, and then they'll do it for me. But guess what? It's not a done for you service. It's you learn it and you have to do it. A lot of people are like very reactive, and I'm curious why. Why do you think that people are that way?
Well, one, I don't necessarily think that that's a negative thing to be reactive. I think that it's actually a great skill to go, I see this, I'm going to go do it. I think that's a great skill. And so I guess for me, like, I don't necessarily see it as this negative thing. I think it's just about learning how to utilize that as an asset and going, okay, this is how you are. Okay, great. Let's use that in how we're going to choreograph what you're doing. And so I guess rather than going, why do I think people are that way? I go, okay, they're that way. Now let's use it as an asset in what you're doing. And yeah, that's kind of how I look at it.
I love it. I love how you said choreograph it in a way.
Yeah,
that's so good. Like, okay, this was massive light bulb moment for me, right? Because we so often, right, we start working with somebody, or call it a coworker, call it a friend, call it like personal relationship, right?
Yeah.
And we expect them to be somebody that we want them to be, right? And to react at the things that we want them to react, right? Mm-hmm. And through our journey, like working together, or even my relationship, right, with my wife, like that's why I mentioned like personal relationships, like things happen, right? Like Fonzie has evolved massively since we first started together.
Appreciate it.
I know your beard looks amazing today.
I was for those that like Pokemon. I was like a Charmander, and now I'm like a Charizard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. I mean, you're like Charmeleon right now. Okay. Wow. Like, let me get out of here. This nerd.
Hashtag not so juicy, not so tasty.
nerding out. Okay. Wow. Logan Paul should come to the show and talk about Pokemon cards. Anyways, but through the relationships, right? Like, before I used to expect something of him, right, that he maybe was not able to deliver because we're very different people, right?
Yeah.
And at first, he might have caused a lot of frustration. We've had several episodes in the past where we were both very frustrated with each other because we didn't really know. We were expecting, the other person to react in a certain way, and they're not. Now, like through obviously the business journey that we've had in the last 5 years, through the podcast, through publishing, we've learned to evolve and understand the others. Like I remember the exact moment when I understood that Fonzie was a dreamer. It was not so long ago. It was actually like 3-4 months ago with
when we were talking to Reman.
yeah, Reman. We had an amazing 3-hour interview, right? And this guy's like asking us about the purpose in life, right? Like very deep conversations. And Fonzie's like, man, I honestly don't know. And then we identified that he was a dreamer, right? He's like, I love to dream. An explorer, right? And I'm like, that's why he never gets everything done, because he loves to go out into space and grab these amazing ideas, and he learns as much as possible, and then he brings it and starts implementing like very quickly, and then he gets bored and he's like, he goes off to explore again, right? So once I understood that, I'm like, wow, this is a great skill because I don't have it first, so that's great. So where's that fit? So right now we're trying to discover, okay, how's the day-to-day operation for Bistros? Is Fonzie that person that's going to grab those things, implement it, and then we can work together to make it a system, and then I deliver it to the team, right? So that can be part of it. And I think that's why this conversation is such a light bulb moment, because we can use that with our clients, with the people that we work with our teams. Do you always understand it that way, or do you have to learn it through like personal experience? How do you learn that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a learning daily. I think I've been learning it. Michael and I have talked a lot about it because we are different, and there's a lot of times that we work like amazing together. Like it's just going. And then there's sometimes where it's like we're butting heads, right? And that's one example. But I think it's just about learning your personnel. And I think personality tests are great. I think the Colby exam, if people haven't taken the Colby exam, you should definitely take the Colby exam. It is so great. We actually made this whole process of how we're going to run the ideas based on what we learned from the Colby exam, because we went, okay, there needs to be like this brainstorming time where I'm not interjecting, because I'll come in and I'll go like, but what about this? And what about this? And I'll start being a critic in that situation, and it kills the idea. And when I don't do that, it's like the most amazing brainstorming session. And so we actually created a process where it was like, okay, we're going to do the brainstorming and I'm zipping my lips, like not talking. I'm going to be excited. And then I get to analyze after. And so I think that personality tests are just like, they're really, really, really enlightening. So you can understand. And I think anybody that you're working with, like they should definitely take something so you can understand how you can work with them better. And as like, you know, when I'm running marketing choreography, like I really want to understand that person so I know what things need to be filled for them. You know, like if they're not an implementer at all, then I need to know that ASAP so we can find somebody that can be an implementer for them, because it's not going to work, right? Like nothing's going to work if there's no implementer. And if they're a huge visionary, then I can come in and really, really fill in the plan and remember that they're still a visionary. And so I think it's important to remember all of that. Yeah.
So yeah, it's like when Fonzie, like I'm deep in operation mode and working with the team in processes, and then Fonzie's like, dude, guess what? He pulls my headphones away. It's like, guess the idea that I just had, and then he starts, and I'm like, no, stop. I'm in operation mode. I'm in like mode. I cannot even think about how we're actually going to develop this thing.
That's why we got these time trackers that you see right here. This thing, you put a task on it and then you flip it, and so you know you have to focus on that task no matter what.
I love it.
Wait, my turn.
Are you sure?
Yes, thank you.
No, go explore, brother. Go explore. No, I'm kidding.
Lexi, thank you so much. Like I've been loving this conversation.
Yeah, so good.
And I'm curious about the after party podcast, right? The funnel after party podcast as well. Yes. Like where does the marketing choreography ties into the funnel after party? What is a funnel after party as well? Because it sounds awesome, but you know, I want to be invited to whatever that is.
We need to dance for sure.
We need to dance. We need to learn to dance. What is it? What is the goal of it? I just wanted to bring it up. I know I'm like cutting the topic that we were having.
I was actually gonna go there.
Yeah, cool. That's awesome.
Funnel After Party was born because I started I was in like all the ClickFunnels groups, and I saw these people going like, hey, I don't really know how to do this order form, or I don't know how to do the tech on this, and I don't understand this. And so I was like, interesting. And so I jump on a call with them, and I could totally help them. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I ended up getting clients through that. And so then it was like, okay, well, next step, let's create a funnel after party. And so my ideal client is somebody that's coming right out of that one funnel away challenge. And now it's time for the after party. It's time for the after party where we really, really learn how to put all of the pieces together in the marketing choreography. And let's learn what it means to create a campaign and create a launch. And let's learn some of the tech, because some people coming out of one funnel away, like it's an incredible base. Like it's absolutely amazing, the skills that are there and what they're teaching you. But some people come out of it and they're super overwhelmed. And so I went, okay, it's time for the after party. It's time to party. Let's get this all sorted out. Let's get everything ready to go so you can have a successful business, and make sure that the tech is good, that you understand how to make the funnel go from page to page, and you understand how to attach the email to it, and you understand how to market it and put it into the marketing choreography. And so it's just kind of that in-between step, because I have my Facebook group, and then I'm also working on launching the podcast right now, that is just all living in that space and getting them to a place where they're ready for marketing choreography.
Oh, that's awesome. Good. Yeah.
Where were you 2 years ago?
I think
again,
I know. I'm sorry.
Oh man,
I'm here now.
Lexi, I think you need to trademark those names, because those names are very cool.
So juicy, so good.
So juicy, so tasty. I think, like one of the things we actually heard a while ago was that you need to, when you create these processes, put a proprietary name to it, right? And that's why, for example, we have the minimal viable content, right? We have the publishing pyramid, and those are our proprietary names, because they help distinguish you. And I can tell you did that, right? That's your differentiator. Because as soon as I heard marketing choreography and I knew you were a dancer, I was like, this is it. Like, it is so obvious this is your proprietary name. And I think it's absolutely amazing. And with the funnel after party, you're definitely bringing the fun back to funnels.
Wow. You're not a dad yet, brother.
I know.
Has dad jokes. Wow. Are you? Well, that we know of. So,
no, hey, okay. Wow. We don't want to go there. We don't want to go there, guys.
I want to highlight something that you said here that might have like flown under the radar. Is that correct? Yeah, probably.
Maybe.
But you said that you were actually different groups and helping people, right? And you were like, hey, let me jump on a call. Let me help you out. And then you said, I got clients from it. So a lot of people here don't want to have content conversations. And we say this every single time. We're like, you guys have to be proactive, just like you. Like you were out there, you were creating these conversations, adding value, right? And then the money and the revenue and the profit can follow. And now you have this amazing business that you're helping and adding a ton of value to a ton of people, which is incredible. So I just wanted to highlight that and encourage everybody listening and watching right now, have those content conversations, be there, collaborate, help out, solve problems, right?
What would be maybe a tip that you have for people that, again, they're not as proactive as they should and start these content conversations, seeking to help others? What would be one tip for them to actually get them started?
Well, let me start with 4 years ago. I would never in a million years have done that. Like that would not have happened. And I should have been doing it. I wish somebody would have told me to do that.
Why wouldn't you have done it?
Because it's scary. Like if we're being truthful, it is scary to reach out to somebody. And when you're thinking about it from the perspective of, what if they don't like it? Or what if they don't like me? Or, if you're thinking from that perspective, then it's horrible, right? But if you start going, but I can help them. Okay, I'm going to add value to them. And if you can approach the conversation with that and you're going, I can help them. This is going to be good for them. Then it changes everything and you can do it, right? And so I think that's the first thing. Like if somebody's going, how do I do this? Well, start just thinking about them and start thinking about the fact that, do you wish you would have had somebody that would have been helping you in that situation? Like if somebody reached out with that question, do you wish that somebody would have gotten on a call and helped you through that? And if you can think in that way, then it's easier. But if you don't, and you think, well, what if they don't like me? Then there's no way you'll ever get on a call.
Have you found anybody that you reached out and helped say, like, this is not working for me, like, I don't even appreciate you doing this? Have you ever had somebody say that?
I actually, like, not yet. I mean, I'm sure there will probably be a time, but as of now, like, no, they've just been super, super grateful. Yeah. And I think for the most part, that's what you're going to run into. I think generally people are nice, and it's easy to forget that. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, overall, I think people are negative and are pessimistic. And so when I approach it like that, it's no good. But I think overall, like, people are nice people. Like, they're not out to get you. Maybe they had a bad day, but they're not really out to get you. And so I think generally they're just going to be grateful.
Absolutely. You know, and I can see that. Like, I probably wouldn't tell anybody that comes up and offer help, be like, oh, no, get out of here.
Right.
And honestly, like, the worst thing that can happen, like, if someone says no, I want everybody that, like, whoever is listening right now, I want you to imagine yourself asking this question of you providing value to someone else, trying to help somebody else. Right. What would be the worst case scenario? Probably is them saying no, right? Yeah. It's like, no, thank you. And guess what? You're going to be just where you were before, right? But if you don't ask, you're going to live with the doubt in your head and that pressure saying, but what if I would have asked them what?
I want to share a quick story on that. Like, same thing happened, right? Like, we started with the podcast. We had a conversation with the head of sales, or it's like the top sales guy of a professional hockey team here in the United States. And he like reached out and like, dude, guys, I love the show. It was like when we were first starting with the first few episodes. And it's like it was a little different. He reached out and then I was like, okay, I can help you with that question, right? Like, it was not like going after him, but still, right? The no came after. The no came after the call, right? Like, we jumped on the call. We worked through whatever they needed, right? They were thinking about starting a platform with the players. Like, this is when COVID started to happening, the players, the coaches, the fans, right? So we're helping them through this. And then at the end, I'm like, hey, by the way, like, this is what somewhat what we offer at the time. We're like, hey, we can help you. We can coach you on this and we can develop a relationship together, right? And he's like, man, I like it. Let me bring my marketing director into the call. So they brought the marketing director. We had this amazing conversation, right? Great feedback. But the answer to my offer was no. They were like, man, like, you know, we're going through this difficult time, obviously, in the country. Like, they're an event company. They needed people coming in. They didn't have the people coming in. Like, it was an investment. But they said no, right? That's the worst it could happen after that. Right. But guess what? Immediately, I was like, well, first of all, thank you so much for jumping on this call with us. And would you mind recording a quick testimonial video for us? And they said yes. And they recorded an amazing testimonial video that now we have, and we've shown to different people, and we can use as leverage, right? We're very thankful for that relationship. And that conversation has led to amazing conversations with other people, right? So even they say no, there's always something good there to be able to do.
Yeah, I feel like you actually gain, like, if you ask and they say no, you actually don't end up in the same place. You actually gain from that because you gain clarity that you're like, okay, they said no, they don't want to. And you might gain, you know, a new friend, a new testimonial. Like, you never know. But if you don't ask, you're just going to stay stuck right there. That quote that my brother butchered, right? He says, I prefer to move 100 miles per hour in the wrong direction than standing still. And not asking if you're standing still right there.
Lexi, what is, first of all, thank you. Today has been incredible.
Yeah, it has been so much fun. We need to go and hang out with you and Michael.
I know.
Yeah, for sure. Let's do it.
But I won't be dancing with Fonzie because you guys are pros. So, you know, we won't dance together.
Okay, that's fine.
Lexi, what is like maybe like one action point that you can send out to people to get moving, get that momentum going, right? Get those wins. What is something that you would recommend?
Whether that is for their marketing choreography or for them to get accepted into the after party.
There you go.
Or get it. make a plan. One, that's my. Are you? Yeah, is that the direction you're wanting me to go? Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you feel? Yes, that.
Yes. Okay. Cool.
Here's a little context, right? A lot of the people that we've been having conversations with or going through the show is people that are starting this entrepreneurial journey. We have people from also corporate that sell, that are trying to figure out the content game, more on the marketing side, right? So yeah, that's a little context on people that listen to the show.
Yeah, make a plan for what you're doing and complete that plan. That is my biggest advice. And when you don't make a plan, nothing can happen. And I know a lot of entrepreneurs are visionaries, and that's how it goes. So have the vision and then make a plan to make it happen. And when you do that, you're going to see a lot of success come, because you actually move forward with something, and now you have something that you can say yes or no to. So
absolutely, thank you. I mean,
love it.
It can be, if we let's say if we talk content, right? Like for us, we always thought for 3 years, let's publish. There was no plan, right? The second we sat down and we're like, this is our plan, which at the time was one Facebook Live video a day for like 10 minutes. It wasn't like 3 hours, right? That was the plan.
Yeah.
Things started to move forward and happening.
Exactly.
So thank you.
Exactly.
So good. Golden Boulder.
Hashtag so juicy,
so good.
Tasty.
Wow. Stop saying it wrong, Fonzie. Okay.
I gotta keep saying it until you accept.
You guys need a poll. We're gonna have to do a vote.
So
Lexi, I'm just gonna throw there. We already did a vote, and you voted for so juicy, so tasty.
I win. I'm the only one that counts.
Yeah, exactly.
Lexi, where will you be? And you know,
I love the pause that you made right there. I was like, this is making it so intense. We're gonna pause.
And if you're listening right now, if you're listening, you have to go see the video. Sorry, Fancy, like you get everything wrong. So juicy, so so juicy, so okay. Can I talk? Can I ask? Oh no, you want to ask the question? You ask.
Yeah, you always ask it. Okay,
you go.
Intense pause, intense eye contact. Lexi,
Yes.
where would you be if you didn't publish?
Nowhere. You gotta publish. It's so important, and something that I am getting better at every day. But you have to publish. You have to have something out there, or nobody can find you. It's not even possible. The idea can be there, but if you're not putting it out there, then it's pointless. It doesn't even matter.
Love it.
Is that a part of the marketing choreography?
To publish? Yes. Yeah, 100%. It is definitely a part of it.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Lexi. People, start doing your marketing choreography, contact Lexi. And that being said, Lexi, where can people find you? Where can they connect with you? Where are they going to be able to listen to the funnel after party?
Okay, well, first, Facebook, that is the place to connect with me. It's under Lexi Ruffell, so with an A. I know we've been going Lexi, but it's Lexi Ruffell. And go find the Funnel After Party group, and we can connect in there and get you going. And then stay tuned, because the podcast launch is coming. So you can't find that yet, but it's coming. So go connect with me on Facebook, and then you'll be able to.
Let's go hang out in the Facebook group.
We're just putting some pressure in here, for the launch of the Funnel After Party podcast.
Yeah, I know you're making it. I'm like, oh shoot, that should have been up.
Now it's gonna have to happen no matter what.
Indeed.
We know that you have a plan. Don't worry. Don't let Fonzie here pressure you.
Absolutely.
We know that you have a plan. Don't worry. This has been amazing. Any last thoughts that we might have missed?
No, I'm so grateful to be on with you guys. You guys are amazing. I'm so glad that we've been able to connect, and we're in a mastermind together too. We got to connect through that. It's just weird how things work out, and so I'm just so grateful for the connection, and I'm looking forward to more times with you guys. So
awesome!
Absolutely.
I know some dance moves are gonna come.
Yeah.
I would love to do like a dancing class. That'll be so much fun.
Let's do it. We'll make it happen.
Yes.
Sweet. Awesome, guys. With that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning into the Content is Profit podcast. Go ahead and subscribe. Hit smash that subscribe button and follow us on social media at BeastBrosCo.
That's right. And if you find this episode impactful, please don't forget to share it and leave a 5-star review. Thank you.
Bye.